Hey guys, welcome to the World According to Patrick, where I rank albums, just talk music. And I got a very, very special guest with me, a good buddy of mine, Mr. Bobby Smith from the band Deadspeak. What's up, dude?
Hey, how's it going?
All right,
Everything's going good.
cool, right on. What are we gonna do today, Bobby?
We're gonna rank vocalists, or I call them vocalists, but singers. Me personally, I'm probably just gonna stick to the metal world of vocals because I know more about that than the rest of the world.
Yes, this is true. That's why I wanted you to do this with me, and I'm glad you agreed to it, man.
Gotcha.
I'm going to actually be all over the spectrum a little bit. I mean, I'm going to do rock. It's going to mainly be classic rock, hard rock, and metal. And this is really hard for me. We were texting back and forth, man. I mean, this is it was a lot harder than I thought. This is a lot harder than the drummers because I used to sing too, and there's so many singers out there. And since you've even been here, I thought with more people in my head. I'm like, I got to stop.
I know. I started writing stuff down on the way over here.
Yeah, right. Oh, were you really?
Yeah, because we listened to music on the way over, and I'm like, shit, I forgot one.
And another reason why I wanted you on here, man, is you are about as passionate about music as I am. Me and Corey talk about that. I'm like, there's only one other guy I know who likes music more than you, Patrick, and that's Bobby.
Right.
Because I'm talking about music, football, maybe a little UFC, but it's mainly just music.
Just music for me.
Girls occasionally. But
Yeah, girls and metal.
Girls and metal. But yeah, man. So I think what we'll do is we'll rank our top 10.
Yep.
We talked about it. We'll do 3, 3, and 3.
Cool.
And then I'll do our number 1. Okay.
Cool.
And then we'll do our honorable mentions. And I think we have a ton of honorable mentions. And
Yes.
a lot of these, like with the drummers, I'm gonna do guitarists, eventually 2 and bass players, but I'm not gonna even pull out album artwork because that would take forever. So we'll just talk more about the artist. That's
Right.
cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. I tell you, it was very difficult when you said vocalist. Man, I had 30 people like within 15 or 20 minutes of people that could have been potential. So me personally, I'm just going to rank what I know, and maybe they're not my absolute favorite, but I think I got some people that need to be mentioned that I think are just awesome.
Right on.
So
And but I'm gonna let you start yeah, we'll just kind of go from there, man. We'll just do 3, 3, 3, and then 1. We'll just go back and forth like that, if that's cool.
cool, absolutely.
I'll let you start, sir.
Well, everything that I got mostly is in the metal world, but all types of metal. Some are darker metal, some are lighter metal, some are not even completely metal, old metal, new metal. I started personally listening to metal back in early days of Judas Priest and Queen and Iron Maiden and stuff like that. But the first time I ever felt music and metal was when I heard "Hit the Lights" on the cassette tape. The very first time I heard that, I was like, "Oh my God!"
Did you hear it off the Metal Massacre before Kill 'Em All came out?
I did. I heard the cassette tape.
You heard so you heard him before even Kill 'Em All came out. You got me beat, man. Okay.
You remember Fran Strine? He had a cassette. Me and Danny and Fran Strine were riding around, and he popped out this cassette tape, and I heard "Hit the Lights," and my whole world just kind of opened up to, wow, there's a future for me in this world in metal. I don't know. It just kind of hit me.
I never knew that. You never told me that, dude. That's amazing.
Yeah,
because a lot of people, especially here, have not heard anything.
I mean, that
like
was like 83, 82, 83, somewhere around in there. It was very young. I was still in high school. So, but that's my kind of background. So my number 10 is Tatiana Samalayak, the vocalist from the band Ginger.
Oh, wow.
Probably the only female that I have on the list. She is an amazing vocalist. There's a lot of female amazing vocalists, but she's the one I listened to the most recently. I used to listen to a lot of Hotep, but Ginger has been on my list heavily because I have a strong connection with that band and my daughter. The song that kind of brought it all together for me and her was a song called Pisces. They do a live version and they got a recorded version, and they're both just amazing. She's got an extremely harsh kind of deathy vocal, and she sings very beautifully at the same time. There's a lot of girls singers out there, but she's the one that I've connected with a lot. So Tatiana from Ginger, she's number 1 or number 10 on my list. We're going from 10 backwards. So my number 9 is Rob Flynn from Machine Head, and the former Violence guitar player. He did backup vocals for Violence as well. I was a huge Violence fan back in the day, even though my friend Gene Dawkins will say that the first time we saw him at the Metroplex, I walked out of there and I was like, who is that band? And then I went and bought their cassette and CD later, and like after I heard them, after we saw them, I was like, that is just amazing. Now, I'm speaking about the band Violence was when I saw Rob Flynn first, but Machine Head, Rob Flynn, the vocalist from that band, it's just something that I connected with from the very first album. And then Supercharger came out, and The Burning Red came out, and all the way up until the very last album that they just put out.
I do dig The Black Man.
Yeah, it's probably their greatest.
And Through the Ashes of Empire.
Yeah, really both of those are awesome. I just connected with the vocal content, and I know you and a lot of other people were like all Pantera at that time, and for me, I don't know, I wasn't on the Pantera path as much. I dug, Phil and Dime and Vinny and Rex, they're killer, but I don't know, my path was more along the Machine Head kind of path.
Right on.
I dug the vocals and the lyrical content and just everything about him. And he's a great performer, guitar player, lyricist. Most everybody that I got on my list has a lot of deep kind of vocal content. So that's my number 2 is Rob Flynn. My number 3 is a guy named Peter. That's his nickname. His name is Peter Weiser. Rick, I can't even say his name. He's the vocalist for a band called Vader they're Polish. He's got a very, very distinct vocal style that anytime I hear, I'm like, that's the dude from Vader. I can just hear it. It's very deep and guttural, but very distinct in you can just about hear every single word that he's saying. He was with the band since 1983. He's really the only original member left in the band to this day. We just saw him 3 months ago at the Masquerade and they killed it. So that's my top 3. Vocals for Ginger, Rob Flynn from Machine Head, and Peter from Vader.
Right on, man. This is why I want to do it with you, just like we did with drummers, because there's a couple of drummers. I'm like, who is that?
Yep.
Did you recognize all the drummers you said?
Not at all.
Okay, all right.
I mean, some of them definitely.
Yeah, but all right, I'm going to do this, brother. We're going to do album release. I was conflicted with my 10, so I got 2 for 10. I'm going to real quick. Guy named David Gilmour from Pink Floyd. I love his voice, very melodic. Yes. Of course, he took Mr. Sid Barrett's place in Pink Floyd. God, I love his voice, man. I just think it's amazing. A very melodic voice. Love, probably my favorite vocals. A hell of a guitar player too. One of my favorite guitar players. But I mean, stuff he did on Animals and with Dogs, and even more the mainstream songs like "Wish You Were Here" and "Comfortably Numb." I love his voice, though. I had to have him on there. I had him off, and I went back and forth.
Yeah.
So, and my number 10 is tied is a cat named John Bush, who sang, of course, with Armored Saint, and he came on Anthrax. Band. And a lot of people don't like those Anthrax albums. I actually kind of dig them, man.
Yeah, I kind of like the Anthrax with John
Bush
myself. Yeah,
I love
Joey
Volume 8.
Belladonna.
Yeah, I do too.
But,
I love Volume 8, The Threat Is Real, which, they went on a label that kind of went defunct as soon as they went on a label, and that kind of hurt that album. That's a great album.
Yeah.
Stomp 442, people don't like. I like it. Sound of White Noise. We've Come Through You All is probably my least favorite, but man, I love his voice. And of course, he was going to be the singer in Metallica. They begged him to be the singer in Metallica, and he wouldn't do it. And so who knows what that band would have been if it was a 5-piece. Because
Right.
James just wanted to play rhythm guitar and have John sing. So.
Well, imagine if Les joined on bass. I mean,
I know, right? Yeah, that would have been crazy, right?
So,
but my number 9, I had to have him on here, is Mr. Tom Araya of Slayer. I mean, his voice is kind of shot now from all the cigarettes he smoked, but oh my God, the first time I heard Slayer was Rain and Blood. Yeah. And of course, I went back and heard Hell Awaits and Show No Mercy and all that other, But oh my God, one of my all-time favorite singers. I've probably seen Slayer or Pantera. I've seen more than anybody, those two bands. I mean, but God, man. I mean, even the farewell tour, I think he still had it. He just can't hit the screams like he used to.
Yeah, I'll talk about him later in the list.
All right, awesome. I knew you wouldn't let me down with that because
Right.
Slayer is one of my all-time favorite bands.
Yep.
Number 8, man, he died way too soon. I don't like any of this. I'm not a big fan of the Seattle grunge sound, but I love this cat, Lane Staley.
Yep.
Great singer.
We got smiles
Love
over here.
the album Dirt. So you like Lane Staley? Okay. Yeah. I mean, God, with just a unique voice. Nobody sounds like that guy.
Yep.
Nobody sounds like Lane Staley, and just what a shame. But had to have him on my list as well. I mean, I love Mad Season. There was another project he did when he was in rehab, which is a great album. Definitely worth checking out. Their album called Above. But I mean, they did Facelift, Dirt, self-titled, and they did the 2 EPs, Jar Flies and Sap. But I mean, everything he ever did, I loved.
Yeah,
it's great. So those are my first 3 right there.
That's awesome. The reason I know all this is because they're like CDs and albums all over my daughter's walls of every bit that you just said there.
Cool. I love Lane Staley. I'm a big Lane Staley.
Well, during the original grunge phase and everything, I couldn't have been more against it. But these
I hate
days,
the grunge, but I love Alice in Chains. So one of my favorite bands.
I definitely got into it a little more when I got exposed to it through my wife. So.
Right on.
All right, so we're down to number 7 for me is Mr. Randy Blythe from Lamb of God and Burn the Priest. He's been guest vocalist on so many things. I think one of my favorites is where he guest vocals on the Gojira song. Can't remember the name of the song, but just an amazing vocalist. If you look at some of his early stuff, it's a little raw, especially out of Burn the Priest, his live stuff. But I always just felt like the energy and the passion was there. He's more of a personally proclaimed more punk background, but he just knew when he saw the band Lamb of God that he was going to be their vocalist, and really good lyricist. I actually got to meet him right after he got released from the Czech Republic prison. We were at the Knotfest in Milwaukee. It was the very second Knotfest ever. And took pictures with him and hung out with him for a minute.
You never told me this. Sam learning new stuff.
Yeah, I got pictures.
I'm glad we're doing the video because I never knew this. Yeah.
Right. All right, so he's number 7. My number 6 is Mr. Sean Killian from the band Violence, who is a fucking huge influence on my life. Thrash.
One of my favorite bands.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to see Violence here 2 or 3 times in Atlanta, and then moved to San Francisco and saw them at the in San Francisco. It was the only show I ever saw in San Francisco, and then just recently went to see Killian on Command, the benefit concert, and just also recently saw him 3 weeks ago at the Milwaukee Metal Fest. And it was a bit tough watching the band play now. They've got Chris Olwolbers on bass, and he's good. They've got a new drummer, and they got a new rhythm guitar player because Ray Vegas is out of the band, and Perry Strickland's out of the band. But Sean Killian, the vocalist, unbelievable, even as keeping the band together. So it was Phil Dimmel and Sean Killian this time around. And like I said, it was kind of hard to watch, but Sean brought it 100%. He even crowd surfed out onto the crowd, even after all his medical stuff and his age. He's still crowd surfing during the songs, and the crowd just loved it. And his lyrical content is just unbelievable. Songs like Call in the Corner and Kill on Command and shit like that. When I was younger, like I said, my friend Gene said the first time that I saw him, I didn't like them, but I bought their CD and cassette tapes, and I listened to them, and I was like, a lot of people thought their vocalist, my best friend Danny, was like, his vocals were like, and I'm like, but dude, read the words.
Right, man.
It
just
does.
like Paul Bailiff on the first Exodus album, it just fits.
Yep, it fits. It's, I don't know, it's not your cup of tea, I get it, but man, it hit me hard after I got the cassette. So, Sean Killian. My number 5 is Mr. Max Cavalera, motherfucking man. From Sepultura, Soulfly, Nailbomb, Kill or Be Killed, Go Ahead and Die.
Album is awesome.
Oh my God, he's killer on everything. Max is just the man. He's like a rhythm guitar beast. He could just write an album in a day. And his vocals have always been something I've really connected with. The aggression. He's never really done anything clean vocals, but he's just always been tremendous. I think the first time I saw him was back on the Beneath the Remains, and just always loved Max Cavalera. He's he's the motherfucking man.
That's the first. I remember that's the first album I got from him. Then I went back and got Schizophrenia and Morbid Visions. But I saw the video about 2 a.m. of Inner Self.
Yep.
From that album, yeah.
So they just re-recorded the Morbid Visions CD. Him and his brother Igor.
I read about that.
But your buddy Rodney was the one that turned me and Danny and Corey and Carrie all on to Beneath the Remains. He had that CD.
Wow, because we got, of course, we were already. I don't remember who got in. It was me or I got him into Sepultura. Or he, vice versa. But,
he turned all of us onto it.
That's so cool. I never knew that.
I was so into it.
Yeah, that is so awesome, man. Yeah. Rest in peace, Rodney and Danny. Yeah, for sure. Well, I never knew that. That's really cool.
Yes.
I'm glad you shared that, man. Well, my number 7, love this guy. I think he's an underrated singer. Cat named Chuck Billy. I love that guy. He's a very versatile singer.
Yes.
Of course, he sings for Testament. He's got a great vocal range, man.
Oh, absolutely.
Don't you agree? I mean,
I think the most I liked Chuck Billy was on the album Demonic, I think.
Where he sang
really deaf.
Can't even believe that's him. Yeah. I like The Gathering, too, though. That album he sings on The Gathering is so good.
Yep.
And I still think his voice sounds terrific. I mean,
Yep. When I heard Over the Wall, I was like, yeah, this is killer.
Oh, yeah.
We saw him at the Metroplex.
Yeah.
They were always
it's kind of weird that him and Zet did a switcheroo.
Yeah, it's very interesting. If you go back and watch that, Zetro kind of buddied up with him and was like, you need to be the vocalist for here because I'm scooting over to Exodus.
Scooting over to Exodus. The rest is history, right?
Yep.
Number 6, I know you. This is definitely probably your number 1, but I had him on here, Mr. Paul McCartney.
Nope, didn't even make the list. Not that I don't love Paul McCartney.
I'm a big fan of the Beatles, and that's the first song I ever heard as a kid. Was I saw her standing there. My parents played it constantly, so it's just instilled in my brain. I just think he's an amazing singer. Not now. I mean, my God, the man's 80, 81 years old now.
Yeah, very old.
I love his voice, even his solo stuff, especially in the '70s what he did with Wings. But I mean, very distinct voice. I like him a little bit. I like his voice a little better than John's, actually, believe it or not. But they have very similar voices, though.
Yeah, he's really talented.
Yeah, but had to have him on there, man. And number 5, another voice changed dramatically. He used to have more of a Rob Halford style voice, more of a gurgly. I think it's all the cigarettes he smoked, and that's Phil Anselmo. Yeah, I love Phil Anselmo, man. I've met him a couple times. I've heard a lot of bad stories about him. He's always been super cool to me. But you think about Pantera, of course, but Down, Superjoint Ritual, Viking Crown, Necrophagia, his solo albums. Down, he actually sings almost more like a stoner rock, doom rock, hard rock band or something, which I love Down.
Yep.
I remember you used to give me shit because I always wore a Down t-shirt every time you saw me.
That or the Exodus, the Fed Exodus.
The Fed Exodus shirt over and over again. I got holes all on them now because I wore them so much.
Right.
But but I love, and again, these are probably not my favorite verse, as far as I hear a voice like, oh my God, he's the best singer of all time. But we're just going on our personal favorite singer, so I had to have him on there. So the number 5 for me is going to be Mr. Phil Anselmo.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, I've been seeing Pantera since Cowboys from Hell, but I tell you, when I saw the very first tour of Superjoint with Hank III on bass.
Oh yeah, that was killer.
God, it was crazy. That was a very, very, very good show.
Yeah.
So. All right, so my number 4 is Mr. Bruce Dickinson from Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden was one of the first big arena-type shows that I ever saw. I saw Dee Snider with Twisted Sister and Iron Maiden, and that was the Peace of Mind tour.
Oh, wow.
And later became honorable mention to Paul Di'Anno. Very, very much like Paul Di'Anno in the early Iron Maiden, but Bruce Dickinson, just thought he was awesome from everything that he ever did with Iron Maiden, and fond memories of seeing them live. It was super, super killer.
You saw him on the Peace of Mind tour. Yeah, that's pretty impressive. I didn't see him until Somewhere in Time tour.
Yeah,
with Yngwie.
They had
opened up.
Was that?
Was it the Omni?
I know I saw Yngwie the first time with AC/DC when he was like 18 years old.
That's crazy.
Insane how young that guy is. And now he's old like us.
Yeah.
All right, so my number 3, kind of a switch up hugely from Iron Maiden, is Mr. George Corpse Grinder Fisher from Monstrosity, Cannibal Corpse, Corpse Grinder, lots of bands. He's just the most brutal, the Respect the Neck, just blasting. He came on to sing with Cannibal Corpse, I think on the Vile album was the first one. I'm not sure if that's exactly the right one. It might have been before that, but the first time I ever saw them with Cannibal Corpse, like I was a huge Cannibal Corpse fan with Chris Barnes from the very first album, and when they got rid of him or he quit or whatever it was, I was like, I guess Cannibal Corpse is over. And then I saw him with Corpse Grinder, and I was blown away. I was like, holy crap,
I think
this
he's
dude,
a much better frontman than
I
Chris
think he's
Barnes.
much better. Chris has gone way down over the years. The first 6 Feet Under album was amazing with Alan West and the rest of the guys, was great. I love that album. But when Corpse Grinder came into the mix, it was crazy good. And this last album he did, Corpse Grinder, just unbelievably brutal and vicious. And I like his lows most of the time. Every once in a while he hits those highs, and he does it just right, man. It makes me makes me want to crush things, and I love it. So the very next one after that, did I go too far? No,
you're in the right one.
All right, so my next one after that is another huge change. Mr. Ronnie James Dio, the man, awesome. Got to see him with Dio 2 times at the Omni way back in the day. Just an amazing short-ass little fucking front man. Just the dwarf, just his ability to be a frontman vocalist and just overall amazing vocalist is just amazing to me. I think this might be bad, you might get mad or whatever, but I think one of my favorite Black Sabbath albums is the one that he was on, where he sings the Sign of the Southern Cross. I used to watch
the Mob Rules.
I used to spend a lot of time at the Midnight Movies watching Heavy Metal, that cartoon movie, and when his part came on, I was like, man, it sounds so fucking good.
Oh yeah,
just did it all the way for me. So Ronnie James Dio is my number 2.
All right, awesome, man. Choices, and I knew you were going to have some. I'm so psyched. I'm like, love that, man.
Oh
yeah, that's killer. And my number 4 is Mr. Ronnie James Dio.
Nice, hell yeah.
Yeah, and for a lot of everything you said, I mean, Heaven and Hell and the Mob Rules. I even like, oh my God, what is the album that came out? It's got
well, he was with Rainbow.
Yeah, no, but I'm talking about the album after they broke up for a while in '94. They made another album. I don't have it in front of me. Yeah, darn it, I'm gonna kill.
Well, he was so amazing that up until like a month or 2 before he passed away, he was performing like there was nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, Dehumanizer. Yeah. Dehumanizer. Ugh, yeah, this Black Sabbath is one of my all-time favorite bands. But yeah, but you're right, brother. Watching the movie Heavy Metal and hearing that song with that weird bass pedal going down, it's so crazy. And I just recently listened to Live Evil, the remix. You got to check that out. That is so badass, dude. It is so killer. It just came out like a couple weeks ago. Just awesome. So I've been listening to that over and over again. But I forget how great of a singer he is. But yeah, he came from Ben Elf, which I'm not a big fan of the band Elf. Yeah. But man, Rainbow is one of my all-time favorite bands. I mean, Richie Blackmore's Rainbow and Rainbow Rising, one of the greatest albums to me ever made, and Long Live Rock and Roll. I wish he would have done at least one more album with Richie Blackmore, but I mean, just what a great singer. I got the chance to see him, solo twice, and I got to see him with Black Sabbath.
Wow.
That's when they got back together in '94, that was a great show. That was a hell of a concert, and I had great seats for that too.
Awesome.
And God, he was such a little dude, but man, God, what a powerful voice, man.
Mm-hmm.
But I like his solo stuff too, especially Holy Diver and Last in Line.
Yes.
Some of the stuff like with Sacred Heart, I wasn't as crazy about with Rock and Roll Children. I thought I got a little too commercial sounding, but still amazing voice, man.
I'd say that Black Sabbath album is the one I like.
Oh yeah, the Mob Rules is one of my all-time favorite, in Heaven and Hell. But I like, and then of course, they probably because of Sharon Osbourne, the last thing he did right before he died was the Heaven and Hell album.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They had to call it Heaven and Hell, but it's Black Sabbath.
Yeah,
Ozzy or whatever. But anyway, that's my number 4.
Probably copyright rules or something.
Oh yeah, man. My number 3, I already knew in stone who my top 3 were. These are my 3 favorite singers, always have been. you know, he's not the singer he used to be. Oh my God! The first time I heard a song called "Child in Time," I was like, oh my God, chill bumps. He was in Black Sabbath for a minute, just for one album. And that's Mr. Ian Gillan.
Yep.
Sang with Deep Purple. Love Ian Gillan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You saw. Well, I have one of the albums up there with Ian Gillan.
Yep.
I'm a huge Ian Gillan nut. But what a voice, man. I mean, and if you go to YouTube and you can watch the stuff he did with Sabbath, with Burn the Priest and all, and just his voice, and just, oh man, it's so powerful. It's killer.
Early videos where we'd watch Wreckage Radio with The Butcher. I remember Ian Gillan singing that song, the Black Sabbath song. I don't know what it is. They're running from zombies and shit, and it's Ian Gillan. And, yeah, definitely like that.
Oh my God, one of the greatest singers of all time. He just chill bumps, man. One of my favorite singers of all time. And my number 2 is the metal god, Rob Halford.
Hell yeah.
Judas Priest is one of my all-time favorite bands, and I think I saw him a few years ago. And he's still, for his age, still got a pretty damn good voice, man.
Yep.
You know, some of my favorite songs ever. I mean, Sad Wings of Destiny is one of my favorite all-time albums. Stained Class, of course, Defenders of the Faith, and Screaming for Vengeance, Painkiller.
Yep, those are the ones I
Just
grew
what a
up
great
with.
sing. Oh yeah, I grew up with that, and I still listen to that to this day. I mean, just a powerful voice, powerful singer, man. So that's my number 2 is Mr. Rob.
Yeah, I'm still a little annoyed with Rob because me and my buddy had backstage passes at the Omni to see Judas Priest, and the show went over and the lights came on. They started shutting down the stage and everything, and we're all sitting on these little 3 rows of chairs right on the floor, waiting to go backstage and meet Judas Priest. And they came out about 15 minutes after we were all sitting there, and they're like, "Yeah, you guys can go home. Judas Priest is gone." They left, and we're like, "Fuck!"
I would have been pissed.
I've still got my patch, my backstage pass, and everything, but I was like, "Yeah, whatever. Let's go home." So would have been cool to meet him.
I would have learned. I'm learning all kinds of stuff about you today, Bob.
Yeah, cool. All right, so it's on to me.
Number 1.
Number 1. I told you I'd get back to it. My all-time favorite vocalist of all time, absolutely number 1, is Mr. Tom Araya of Slayer. I fucking am devastated that Slayer is no more. Tom Araya was the most awesome vocalist ever. The very first time I heard anything Slayer was Hell Awaits, and I tell you what, honestly, I was scared to fucking death. I heard Hell Awaits. We listened to it at our apartment on vinyl, and I was like, what is this? And then I immediately had to know all about it, and got to see him at the Atlanta Civic Center with either Exodus or Motorhead. I can't remember which one, but we saw him there twice on the Rain and Blood tour and the South of Heaven tour. And live, you know, a lot of people listen to Slayer and they're like, oh, the guitar players are crap and everything, but back in '86 when you saw them and you listen to them live, you realize that that's exactly what they were trying to do, and they replicated that, you know, guitar wise.
They emulated pretty much everything they did on the album.
Absolutely. And his vocals were just amazing all the way up until I kind of defined it down to there was an Unholy Alliance concert where it was at Lakewood, and it was Lamb of God and Slayer, and he was having issues with his neck, and that was right before he had surgery on his neck, and then started to decline after that. But there was a good 15 to 20 years where Tom Araya was just...
So it was around that, you think it's around that Unholy Alliance? I think I went to that show because I'd never missed a Slayer show.
Well,
if they came, I would go.
He wasn't thrashing at that show, and I was like, I can definitely tell. So I kind of felt like that Unholy Alliance tour was where it slowly started to taper off. And he did really well, but those first years, I mean, we saw him every single year, sometimes twice, and I was just the intensity of a Slayer show.
Oh, there's nothing like it, man. It changes me.
Oh my God.
The last time, I mean, I went. The last time I actually went and saw them out after they did their farewell show here in Atlanta. They played again. I went to North Carolina with one of my best friends, John.
I saw him twice.
I was like, I'm not getting in the pit. Man, I got right in the pit.
Yep. We saw him in North Carolina with Behemoth, and we saw him here with Dave on Death.
That's the only band I would do that for now at this time. You know, I just love Slayer. Yeah, and Tom Araya, I agree. I almost had him higher on my list, but but what you said, because I've seen him and I was so like, oh my God, his voice is just not what it used to be.
Yeah, it was.
I know it's
difficult.
Chain smoked a lot too.
Well, it was difficult watching the decline of him. And when he retired, I was very, very upset. But I get it.
I think
sometimes you got to call it, and honorably, I'd say he called it, and
Right
he's
on.
stayed true to that. And I'll always miss him, but I'll be grateful for all the years that we got to see him. And unbelievable band. If you never were in the pit of Rain of Blood and South of Heaven and all the early albums, it's hard to explain the intensity and the violence and the awesomeness.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
It's crazy good.
There was never anything like Slayer. There never will be another band like Slayer.
No.
I mean, they just, there was, I could hear immediately when you hear them, you're like, oh, that's Slayer. As soon as you hear them. So many bands tried to be Slayer, but they couldn't copy shit from Slayer. Yeah. But, yeah, that's great. Well, love that's your number one. Well, my number one is always my number one. And another one, his voice has declined, but my God, Michael got me into this band around the same time as Black Sabbath. Black Sabbath I like better than this band, but my favorite vocalist of all time is Robert Plant.
Oh, nice.
I'm a big Robert Plant fan, man. I like his solo stuff too. I've seen him solo multiple times at the Fox Theater. I've seen him with Alison Krauss at Chastain Park. I'm a big fan of Robert Plant. I mean, he's another one though. He can't hit those notes like he used to, but my God, I mean, man, Physical Graffiti is one of the greatest albums ever made, and Led Zeppelin, even though I'm burnt out, Led Zeppelin 4, Led Zeppelin 1, 2, all the Led Zeppelin albums, but especially the Principle of Moments, and even later on, Fate of Nations, there's just a lot of, I'm a big Robert Plant nut, always have been.
I never saw Led Zeppelin, but I got to see The Firm. Which is
that's kind of cool. That's cool, though. I mean, with Jimmy Page, that's killer. With another singer I almost put in my list, Paul Rodgers.
Yeah.
But I'm not a big Bad Company fan at all. But I think his voice is amazing. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I love your list, brother. I knew you were gonna have that. So I gotta have Bobby on here, dude.
Well, like I said, I had a lot of people that could have been my 10 down, but I just kind of had to decide.
Yeah, we gotta do honorable mentions because we have a shitload.
You want to do those 3 at a time too?
Or just do them all, man.
All right. So my honorable mentions they could go on and on. My number one honorable mention is Ozzy Osbourne. He's just amazing. The very first cassette that I ever bought, I bought at Kmart, and it was
Kmart.
I went to the bus stop and I heard a song by Ozzy, and I decided I was going to spend some money at Kmart on a cassette tape, and I ended up buying the wrong cassette because the song that I heard was off of Blizzard of Oz, but I didn't know, so I went there and I bought Diary of a Madman, and to this day,
that's my favorite Ozzy album.
Yep, Diary of a Madman is just an amazing album.
By far my favorite Ozzy album.
Yep. There's so much that could be said about Ozzy, but Ozzy is an honorable mention. All right, so a second honorable mention is a guy named Peter Steele, who was in Typo Negative, but before that was in Carnivore.
Which I'm a big more of a Carnivore fan.
When I moved out to San Francisco, Carnivore and Exodus and Violence was all the shit that I was into, and I've come to like Typo Negative a lot better over the years. I was a little disappointed but the first time I saw him, I was amazed because he had just stopped Carnivore and just started Typo Negative. And we saw a benefit concert at the International Ballroom for Scully, who was a guitar player for Hallows Eve and a lot of other bands.
I forgot about that because I was at that.
Yep. But I was amazed.
We've been in a lot of the same shows together.
Yeah.
I'll always see you. Hey, dude.
Yeah. But I remember when Typo Negative came on, I was kind of standing way back, and he came on, and the pit was amazing. I'm like, what the hell is everybody doing? This is a massive freaking pit going around for Typo Negative. So, I knew there was something definitely magical there about him. But yeah, Carnivore was where I liked him more. The next guy is a band that I'm sure a lot of people don't even know about or have heard about. It's a guy named Cameron Heacock from the band American Head Charge.
Yeah.
This is a band that my drummer for a band I was in, Hate Face, got me into, and I didn't like them, didn't care for them. I was a little bit into Slipknot's first album when it came out, and I was definitely into their live shows when they first came out because they were off the charts. But he pushed a song or two specifically on me, and then I bought the album War of Art, and to this day, in my head, I could make a movie out of that album because it's just so freaking amazing. I heard it twice, and I was still skeptical. I heard it third time, and it was just like a light bulb went off in my head, and I was like, holy shit, there's something really here. Which happens a lot with a lot of bands, for I guess most people, is you're kind of skeptical a couple of times. Certain bands hit you right off the bat, no problem, but that one, third time I heard it, I was like, holy shit just kind of went off in my head. So Cameron Heacock from American Head Charge. Another guy is a guy named Mark Hunter from the band Chimera. That band is no more. They're kind of doing little Christmas benefit concerts here and there. But Chimera,
they've been broken up for a while.
Yeah. They still do little teasers here and there in their hometown, and but yeah, they were just straight up metal band, and I just really like them a lot. So the only guy that I have on my list that's not like truly straight up metal is a guy who was always opening up for the metal bands that I was always at, and that's a guy named Lou Kohler from the band Sick of It All. Oh my God, he was so killer. The bass player's killer, the guitar players, the drummers, everything about the band Sick of It All I really liked. I liked it a little bit more than I liked Agent Orange and a lot of the other bands that were New York hardcore, which is what Sick of It All is kind of categorized as. But Lou, I just really dig his voice and his vocals, and he's just a great front man. And they always were with Slayer and, you know, Pantera and all the other bands. It was like the only punk band that kind of fit in with all the metal bands. Mm-hmm. So the next guy is, I mentioned him earlier, Dee Snider from Twisted Sister. Like I said, I saw him first time with Iron Maiden.
I never knew you were a fan of his. That's the truth.
Oh yeah, he's just a great front man.
I love the first album.
Yeah, super killer guy. And Dee Snider. So another honorable mention is Angela Glasgow, who was the vocalist for Arch Enemy. I like the newer vocalist a little bit, but Angela, she just was vicious and kind of dirty and just kind of had a little more of an edge that I really kind of liked. And then another guy that I really, really liked way back in the Carnivore days is a guy named Billy Milano, who sang for SOD and MOD, and just
absolutely,
oh my God, was a fucking just a vicious motherfucker.
Nobody talks about him. I love Billy Milano.
Yeah, he was awesome. And then another honorable is Mr. Dave Brockie from War. God rest his soul, rest in peace.
Great choice, man. Great
he
choice.
was just an amazing, fun dude in the band War. If you never saw him with Dave, it's still pretty cool. But Dave, back in the day, I got to see War at the Metroplex on their very first tour before they got really refined, and he was just insane. So another guy is Mr. Mike Patton from Mr. Bungle, which I like him most for. He was in Faith No More and Phantomus with the guy Buzz from the
Melvins.
Melvins.
Yeah, and also of course Dave Lombardo was in that.
Yep.
Too, yeah.
Well, he was on and off in it. He had many different ones in Phantomus, and he was also in Tomahawk. But just a phenomenal guy. Mr. Bungle was the album that got me to like Mr. Mike Patton.
I like the new one too. They did with Scott and Dave.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
That's a good one. Yeah.
The next one is a guy who's tremendously vocally, just unbelievably talented. Devin Townsend. He was in Strapping Young Lad, and he does the Devin Townsend Project, and he was the original guitar player for the Steve Vai band way back before Steve Vai, joined up with David Lee Roth and stuff. But his vocal range is just unbelievable. There's some stuff that he does that.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, bro, you're not going to bring up Devin Townsend because I know you love him.
Yeah. Like I said, there's a lot of people I could have put on the list, but I figured if they're on the honorable mention, then that's good enough. So I got one more honorable mention, and that's Mr. John Tardy. We were listening to him on the way over here, and I was like, you got to write down John Tardy from Obituary. We heard Slowly We Rot when it first came out, and I was like, holy crap, this dude is
when did Slowly Rot come out? That was 80...
It might have been 89, 88.
88, 89. I remember when it came out because Rodney was the first person I heard that from was Rodney.
Yep. So we just saw him at the Milwaukee Metal Fest, and he's just as good. Trevor Perez on guitar. And,
Trevor's original member. A lot of those guys are original still, right?
John and his brother on drums. They're still killer to this day. Yeah. So that's my honorables.
All right, well, I've got a shit ton here, so I'm not going to... I had to bring these people up, though, man. You brought him up earlier for a second with the firm, Paul Rogers. He is an amazing singer, man. I am not a big... I know, a lot of people like Freddie Mercury. I thought when he went join Queen, I liked what Paul did just good. I mean, God, he's got a voice on him, man.
Yeah.
He can sing a phone book. I mean, he's such a great singer, man. I'm not a big fan of Free, but I hear his voice, it gives me chill bumps. He's just a great singer, man. Cat named Mike Patton. Mr. Bungle, I agree with you 100%.
Jesus.
I like Faith No More too, but I love Mike Patton.
Yeah.
God, there's something about that guy. I mean, great singer. I don't know if you probably heard of this guy. He lived here in Kennesaw for a while. Mr. Derek St. Holmes.
Derek St. Holmes.
He sang for Ted Nugent.
I think
He
I
sang
remember.
on Stranglehold and Just What the Doctor Ordered and everything.
Yeah, a lot
His
of people
voice,
think
man.
that Ted sang all that, but it was
But it's
actually
Derek
him.
St. Holmes,
Yep.
one of my favorite singers of all time. I wish there wasn't so much ego in that band. They could have kept it going for a while. I know he tours with Ted again now, but man, they had something going. Roger Daltrey. I'm not a huge Who fan, but I think Roger Daltrey in his prime is one of the greatest singers of all time.
Yep.
Ozzy Osbourne, I had to have on here. I feel guilty he's not my top 10.
Right.
I love Ozzy. I mean, I like the Sabbath with Ozzy. I'm conflicted with it because my uncle turned me on to Sabbath with Ozzy, which is my favorite. But my God, I love the stuff with Dio. But I love Ozzy, and my favorite Ozzy too is Diary of a Madman.
Yep, absolutely.
He's great. Cat named Jack Bruce from the band Cream.
Nice.
Everybody knows I love Cream. Bruce Dickinson.
Yep.
Paul Di'Anno. He doesn't have a voice anymore, but I mean, I had to put
Dude,
him
I
in
saw Paul Di'Anno
You
band
told me that.
at the Metroplex after he was out of Iron Maiden, and I was just like,
I know you told me, like, oh my
That
God.
was-
A lot of people were like, because I had to go see
Yeah,
Paul Di'Anno. I'm like,
yeah.
dude, maybe you don't want to go because I know you're a big Paul Di'Anno fan, but you might be disappointed.
yeah, it was cool. It was a bucket
Yeah,
list.
but Jim Morrison,
Nice.
John Lennon, Bon Scott,
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Billy Milano.
Nice.
Speak English or Die is one of my favorite albums, and I love USA for MOD too. That's one of my favorite albums. I love that album too. Greg Allman,
Yep.
what a soulful voice, man. You probably love this band, Barry Gibb, Bee Gees.
Uh-huh.
Phil
Stay
Lynott
alive.
from a band called Thin Lizzy. The older I get,
Oh,
I
yeah.
love Thin Lizzy. I mean,
Yeah.
love Thin Lizzy. One of my all-time favorite band. That's great. Paul Stanley,
Nice.
Joey Belladonna
Nice.
from Anthrax. I mean, man, Worship Music is one of my favorite Anthrax albums.
Nice.
Cat named Tommy Shaw from Styx.
Nice.
Yeah, Jerry Cantrell,
Yep.
great singer. Of course, Jerry Cantrell is,
Mm-hmm.
Jimi Hendrix,
Yeah.
guy named Steve Perry. I like Journey. I'm a big Journey fan.
Hell yeah.
Marvin Gaye, Pepper Keenan,
Yep.
and I'm going to leave it with these two. They both sang in Rainbow after Dio. Graham Bonnet,
Nice.
and he sang with a Michael Schenker group, my favorite Michael Schenker album, Soul Attack. Is that the name of the album? Love it. Joe Lynn Turner.
Nice.
But I mean, I could have gone. We could come up with 100 more.
I know,
I have never
we-
had that many more honorable mentions ever. But I felt
Yeah.
guilty. Like I kept going. Oh wait, I was at work. I'm like write it down. real quick.
Yep. I'll probably think of 20 on the way home.
Yeah,
but,
but,
you know,
man, that was killer, brother. I
Oh, yeah.
mean, and we did it off the cuff, and I'm just glad that you decided to do this with me. I knew it was going to be a lot of fun. I knew your choices. It was bring a lot of versatility in there.
Yeah.
It was great.
well, I stayed mainly in the metal. I grew up listening to not metal. My dad turned me on to a lot of bands that you wouldn't, consider metal at all. And, I heard my cousins always played music. And, but like I said, the first time my little light switch went off in my head was when I heard Hit the Lights off of that cassette. So,
I'm blown away that you heard that on Metal
Uh-huh.
Massacre
Yep.
because that's amazing. The
Yep.
first time you ever heard them. I mean, yeah, that changed everything for me when I heard
Mhm.
Metallica because all the hair metal was out, and then I
Yep.
was like, oh god, this is so like a breath of fresh air.
and then Blinded by Blood with Exodus and Paul Bailoff came out, and I remember they played that on Wreckage Radio. They played the whole Blinded by Blood album on Wreckage right
Yeah,
before
right on.
Halloween.
Yeah,
And we were
I
riding
see
around
that.
right over in this neighborhood when I listened to the whole damn thing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I don't think I love Zet, and Zet's another one. I didn't like Zet when I was younger, and now he's one of my favorite singers.
Absolutely.
And I should have brought him up on my list too because I
Well,
love Steve Souza.
Rob Dukes is
He reminds me of a
amazing.
Bon Scott, kind of like a thrashy
Yep.
Bon Scott
Yep.
Zet.
I like
'Cause I know
all
he's an
three.
AC/DC tribute band too, but yeah.
I like all three Exodus. When people are like, "Who's your favorite?"
I
I'm
like Rob Dukes. Yeah.
When
yeah.
I was young, it was Paul Bailoff. Middle of that was Zetro. Then it was Rob. Now it's back to Zetro, and I like every fucking one of them. They got their place.
Right on.
It's all good.
Well, you want to do another one of these eventually, man? We'll think of something else cool to do.
I mean, we can do more vocalists because I could write down a whole lot.
Maybe we'll do a part 2 of our favorite vocalists. Man.
No, that's all the good ones. I'd rather do something else.
Yeah, well, we'll think of something cool, man. I mean, I got some other a lot of stuff coming up, man. We'll talk about, but yeah, man, go check out his band, Deadspeak, man. I mean, I love that you're in that band. That's killer.
Hell
man.
yeah. I replaced
You
the
guys are
original vocalist that was in the band for 25, maybe 30 years, and never thought I'd be a vocalist, but they were like, "Can you do it? Can you do it? Can you do it?" And I was like, "Nope, nope, nope." And
I
they
went
were
to your
like, "Come
very
over."
first gig, man. I drove
You should
out
come
there.
see another one now. I'm getting a little better over the past 2.5 years. So we got some shows in August, and yeah, we're out there crushing little heads. So come see
Absolutely,
deadspeak.
brother. Well, man, thanks for doing this with me, brother. It's this has been a lot of fun, right?
Hell yeah.
With the 150 honorable mentions that we did too.
Yeah, I had to write them down.
All right, brother. Thanks again. And if you like what you see, please hit like and subscribe. And I'll be doing another video really, really soon. I'm gonna rank the albums of Down.
Hell
I think
yeah.
I'm doing that, and then I'm thinking Journey, but that's gonna take. I don't know. I got a lot of.
Journey's awesome. I got no problem with that.
Yeah, I'm a
My
big Neil
brother,
Sean fan.
my brother listened to Journey and
Yeah.
Devo.
I honestly, all the girls I dated liked it, so I kept it for my friends. I'm older. I'm like, but
Stay metal.
yeah, but if you like what you see, please hit like and subscribe, and check out Bobby's band Deadspeak, man. And I will talk to you guys soon.
Cool.
Later.